non-right-angled triangle. So way back last semester, when you did right-angled triangles, you have 3 choices, sine, cos, tan. When you have a non-right-angled triangle, you only have 2, sine law or cos law. So here's the 2 cases that you're going to use cos law. The first one is when you know all 3 sides. We call that side, 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 so SSS. So when you do your diagram in step 1, it'll look something like this. You'll have a number here, number here, number here. That means that it's cos law. Why would that not be sine law? Because you don't have an angle. So it's impossible to use sine law. The other case is when you know 2 sides and the included angle, which we call side angle side. So you have any 2 sides. I'm going to mark the 2 on this, on the top-ish, I guess, not the bottom side. Doesn't necessarily have to be those 2 sides. And we talked a little bit on Friday, what is the included angle? Because we talked about the non-included. So this would be the included angle. Basically, when do you use cos law? When you can't use sine law. So both of these situations, you're going to start using sine law, and you're going to like, wait a second, I don't have enough information. It's going to be a cos law question then. To find a side. Cos law says that a squared equals b squared plus c squared. And if I stop there, what do you see in the first part of the formula? Yep, and then it's minus 2bc cos of a. So we tend to only give you the first one. If you have to rearrange it, you need to just follow the pattern. So if this is a on the left, the other 2 begin on the right. So if a is on the left, b and c are on the right. Then it's always minus 2 times those same 2 sides, b and c. And then cos of the angle always matches the left-hand side. So if we wanted to find b squared, the other side would start with a squared and c squared. And then minus 2ac times cos of capital B. Why do I need the capital at the end? If I wanted for c squared, what would the formula be? Do you see the pattern? Okay, so the formula sheet will just have 1 up there. I just have the 1 because the other 2 are just from the pattern. Do you have your paper with the title on it? Shut up. There's no way you all have that. It's only May. We've only been doing this since February. 1 month of classes left tomorrow. No pressure.
Wait, really? Tomorrow?
I already am. Believe it or not.
Look at the teeny tiny little method box.
Oh, is it nice and short?
The same as sine law. Let's review what was step number 1 for sine law. Draw and label a triangle. Step 2?
Formula.
Pick the formula. Step 3?
Sub in.
Substitute into the formula. Step 4? Rearrange for the variable. And step 5? Use your calculator. Exactly the same steps. Step 1, draw and label the triangle.
Sine law was 70. Oh, no, wait, that's special triangles. Never mind.
B we have is 8. C is 7. A is 45. And we want little a. How do you know by looking at the triangle that this is a cos law question? So this is the one we call side angle side. Step number 2, formula, a squared equals. If it starts with a, what's the first 2 terms on the right? B squared plus c squared. Then minus 2 bc, so match the same 2 sides, times the cos of a. Step 3, direct substitution. So b is 8, c is 7, and angle A is 45. Yes, not now. The lovely part about Cos Law is there's never any rearranging. The A squared will always, hello?
Hi, has Agatha made it to class?
Yes,
Was she just late?
I guess so.
Hey, just remind her to sign in at the office on her way home.
Straight up calculator, punch in exactly what you see, check your mode. Why?
I'm not on top of like the major stuff like the.
I know, but you're always falling behind, so why don't you use the time to catch up? Punch into your account. Here? Sorry, 33 point. Give me more.
040405.
When do we round and when do we not round?
At the end,
We round at the very end. So if you round here, your answer might be off at the end. So same with sine law, never round to the very, very end. How do I find a if a squared is that big long number? Square root both sides.
5.81.
8, 1 if we round to 2. Everybody got that in their calc? We typed exactly what we saw. So 8 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 bracket 8 bracket bracket 7 bracket cos 45, enter. Good to go? That's as hard as Cos Law gets, by the way. That's pretty much it. Number 2. They try to get tricky and not give us ABC. STP going in the same order. Angle T is 140. P is 14. S is 16. And we want little t. How do we know by looking at it that it is Cos Law? And the So this is where you really need to know the patterns, because in order to get t squared, you need to figure out what else is going to be on the right-hand side. If it starts with t, what are the other two sides going to be? S squared plus p squared. And just make sure your t is capitalized. Step 3 is direct substitution, so 16 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 14 times cos times 140. Did I get that right? Did I get that right when you said it? Do we round here? How do we get t if that's equal to t squared? Square root it. You can do it. You can do it.
199.
Okay.
Oh,
So
that's
there's like a 9.
definitely.
So if you round the first one up, would it be 28.20? What is that number? 79. Is that?
795.1879 dot, dot, dot.
It kind of looked like an S, so I wasn't sure.
Hmm. Confirm, not confirm. To find an angle. want to get this capital A right here all by itself. So that means I got to pick away everything else that's on the right-hand side. How do I get rid of a b squared? How do I move it to the left? Subtract it. How do I get rid of a c squared to the other side? This negative 2 times b and c would be a coefficient. That's all being multiplied by cos of a. So how do we get rid of a multiplication by negative 2bc? Divide by negative 2bc. Still with me? Now, mathematicians, we're picky people, as you know, and we don't like a lot of negatives. If we can have more positives than negatives, we're happy. So what could I do to change the sign of all of these signs in here? I could multiply everything by negative 1. Times negative 1. And on the bottom, times negative 1. And then what I'm going to do at the same time is do a little bit of rearranging, and I'll tell you why in a second. So I'm going to go negative c squared times negative 1 will be positive c squared. Negative b squared by negative 1 will be positive b squared. A squared by negative 1 will be negative a squared. And on the bottom, a negative 2bc will become positive 2bc. Are you with me what I did there? And the only reason we did that, number 1, is we just like more positives than negatives. Number 2, I put the a at the back so that it kind of follows the formula like before. So if this is a, the first 2 terms are the other 2. So if this starts with a, these are b and c.
Shouldn't we multiply cos A by negative 1 as well?
No, because what I did was multiply by negative 1 over negative 1, which is equal to 1.
C and B being in the order they are, does that actually matter
No.
or not?
No.
Okay, good. Therefore, do that alphabetical.
Now I still need to get rid of cos. What's the opposite of cos? How do I cancel the cos? Inverse cos. That was just the theory behind the rearranging. You don't actually need to know all that. I just thought it was fun to show you. You just need to be able to get the formula. So cos of A equals, it starts with the other 2 sides, so b squared plus c squared. Then minus is the same side, minus a squared. Then on the bottom there's always a 2, and the same 2 sides on the top, bc. So we say cos of A is b squared plus c squared minus a squared divided by 2bc. What if we had to use cos of b? What would the formula be? So start with the other 2 sides.
Wait, this is like 0 squared over 2bc.
That was too fast. I got lost here.
C squared plus a squared minus b squared over 2bc. Oh my god, did that say 0?
No, it's an a squared.
Oh, okay. That is more than a.
Agree on this one? Okay, what if I wanted to find cos of c? Number 3. Draw and label the triangle. A is 6, B is 7, C is 4. We're looking for angle A. How do you know by looking at the diagram that this is Cos Law? We're looking for cos of A. Give me the rest of the formula.
C squared plus b squared minus a squared over 2bc.
Agree? Does it matter if this is A or C or B first? Nope. Step number 3 is direct substitution. C is 4, B is 7, A is 6. If you've got old operating system, you're going to have to open and close the top and open and close the bottom. Has to be 0 point something.
Oh, like my one?
Even?
7, 8, 5, 7, 1, 4, 2, 9.
Looking for confirmation on that. How did I know it had to be 0 point something? Because it's cos, right? It has to be less than 1. Because it's A over H, and H has to be the longest side, so it's always a smaller number. She got bored halfway through. Okay. How do I find A? Inverse cos.
I got
58.81. Do not round here.
keep getting error. What was the name of the domain?
I don't know.
Like, I put 49 plus 16 minus 36. Oh, wait, I tried to bracket.
And that's a
Maybe that was it.
okay. Did you bracket the top, bracket the bottom?
I was just about to say, I said I forgot to do that. I said I forgot.
Or
Yeah, 49 plus 16 minus 36. Oh, no, there's a 4. What? Why do you say that? I'm a little bit on there somewhere. Why? Because that means there's more than one answer, and I don't want to do more work than you have to do. Well, explain what you mean. Well, you're not doing more work than you have to. Expect me not to have to do.
I do, yeah. Come on in. You get the last of the box. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, perfect.
There we go. Got it.
So, just imagine this is a trig question from the first part of the unit. Cos is positive or negative? Positive. What two quadrants is cos positive? 1 and 4. So how do we find the angle in quadrant 4?
360 minus. Cos is positive.
But what's the maximum amount of angles in a triangle? So could we have one that was over 300? No or for cos law ever. Ever, ever, only with sine law because of cast rule. So there's no ambiguous case ever for cos law.
Oh, and I just said I did one.
I knew. Number 4.
Oh, man. Oh, no, you just want me to try. No, I mean, oh, man, I finished third example.
What does it mean, solve the triangle?
We have to find angle.
Okay, so what do we still not have here?
We need to find angle C and angle B.
You go for it. I'll give you a couple minutes.
Okay. What? Velocity is a thing. It's a specific thing.
And then when you learn calculus in grade 12, physics gets a whole bunch easier. Whole bunch easier.
I thought you were talking about the quadrants.
Tasha, focus, please. What do you want to do first?
Find the distances by timesing
Definitely a step, but it's not the first thing I would want to do. I would probably draw first to figure out what law. It's going to be Cos Law, no surprise.
Oh, draw it on the other paper. Come on.
then find the two legs by timesing.
Is there anything else you might want to do on this first?
Put the 60 degrees on the V angle.
Miss T. No, wouldn't it be
Miss T, sorry. Oh wait, oh yeah, there's a B.
I just put E there.
Was it
For
MST?
her first name. Miss T.
It's me. Hello. This is me. Okay, now, Bertie, how about you go with that step?
So then times 2 by 60 and 2.5 by 60.
Why?
The minute.
Because it's for a minute, and a minute is 60 seconds.
Okay, so how far did Bella run?
120. Please.
And then the other one ran 150.
So do you want to confirm those?
I confirm.
What do we want to find?